Afternoon, RootCon. Thank you for having us. We'll be presenting TA577 Tactics with the title NTLM Hash Theft through SMB Thread Hijacking. So once again, my name is Mark. Presenting this with my co-speaker Marianne. We're both malware researchers from Viper Security Group. So for the agenda, we'll be discussing the TA577 background, the attack timeline, the techniques, the attack flow, of course the demo, and our conclusion, and if you have any questions, we can take them afterward. So for the disclaimer, we'll be presenting a live replication of the attack. So just want to remind everyone that if you plan on testing any or replicate any malicious activities on your network, please ask permission first before you execute those tests. Now, for the TA577, the things you should know. So we've been monitoring the TA577 for quite a while, since like December last year. They are a threat actor. They are responsible for the CACbot and PICABot backdoors. They started around mid-2020, so that's pandemic era, and they also got famous with their involvement with the Dinokibi ransomware in 2021. So since last December, we've monitored their attacks, and we've been seeing quite a few tactics from them. So basically, this graph only shows the NTLM attack, but they've used quite a lot of styles, like most of them are jar files, PDFs, and HTML files. So this one is quite new for their group. So let's move on with the techniques. So, Marianne, please take away the techniques.
Okay, so is everyone seeing me? Okay, so thank you, Mark. So let us now proceed to the techniques that the malware author used. So for this attack, it uses email thread hijacking. So basically, it is when a malicious actor sneaks into an ongoing email conversation to pretend to be someone you know or someone in that conversation. So if you take a closer look at this example, the previous conversation here is dated July 27, 2023, and the email or the body of the email contains a lot of typos with the common question: were you able to access it? Have you seen the file? I shared something with you. Have you downloaded it? And so on. However, the reply here is dated February 26, 2024. So there's a 7 months gap. If you add all those small details or little details, it makes a huge difference that we should always be aware of. And by replying to this existing thread, they trick the users or the recipients of this email to click malicious links, or for this case, to download such malicious attachment. So now, how are they able to steal and gain unauthorized access? So it is through SMB. So most of you, of course, already know that SMB, or Server Message Block, is a network protocol that we use when we share files between computers over a network. Now, these legitimate SMB sessions can be extracted and, of course, manipulated by these malicious actors and gain unauthorized access. Now, it goes through 3 stages: the negotiation, the challenge, and authentication. So for the negotiation part, I, the client, will send a request to the server that if I can authenticate using NTLM. Now, this server will then send a random number, which is the challenge, to the client. Now, the client will process this using its password, sends back the response to the server, and the server will now check if it matches. So basically, when you create a password, the system doesn't actually store your password as is. It takes your password, runs it through what we call hashing, and makes a fixed, fixed length string of characters, which we call the NTLM hash. So basically, the NTLM hash is the cryptographic representation of your of a user's password. So this enables the malware authors or the attackers to uh, gain access to another machine or to the target or victim's machine. So here, the displayed image here is the content of the HTML file. It may look short and simple, but it hides, of course, a malicious intent. So this redirection here initiates the SMB connection that when monitored by the attacker, they can extract the NTLM hash and yeah, access that machine and do everything that they wanted to that system. So basically, the attack flows is the attacker begins with an email containing an attachment, and when that attachment is downloaded and extracted, it contains a malicious HTML file, and when that HTML file is double-clicked, the redirection, or it triggers the redirection that initiates the SMB connection, and then when they monitor that through the tools like Wireshark, they can extract these NTLM hash, and now they can be able to access that and harvest the data that they need. So for this demonstration, I'm going to show you how they can extract that NTLM hash and be used to access another machine. So let's start by setting up the attacker's machine. We are using now the Windows. Let's check the current user, which is the attacker, and the IP address that we will be using later on. So now I'll show you the shared folder that the victim will unknowingly interact with. Disclaimer, this is a modified version of the text. So yeah. Now let's start the capturing the packets using Wireshark. Now moving on to the victim's machine. Again, let's check the current user, which is what we call the victim. And then again, taking a look at this sample, contains a lot of typos, which is already a red flag with that. And again, the reply patterns, it was received 2023, but the reply was 2024. And of course, the attachment. And after that, yes, the common questions that it uses, like, I forwarded something with you, have you seen it? Checking all these other samples, it always contains that same question, that they've sent something, and were you able to download that, see that, and so on. Like, it's a confirmation for you to be curious enough to download or to click such malicious attachment or links. So now let's proceed to the downloading of the attachment. So since it was familiar, it makes it look like it's one of the participants. The victim might download, or for this case, of course, we will download the attachment, and this attachment contains two files, which is the HTML file and the another encrypted file, which will be usually decrypted once the backdoor is successfully executed. So by double-clicking that HTML file, we can see that it successfully connects to that SMB connection. So we will just have to stop the capturing of packets, add a filter wherein it is NTLM SSP, and we can now see that it successfully authenticates the SMB connection. So we will now simply gather all of the strings that is needed for us to crack the password. So begin with copying the username, which for this case is the victim, separate it with double colon. Next will be the domain name, which is admin, again semicolon, and then copying, of course, the NTLM server challenge, add it to that. You can use whatever text editors you like. So, of course, for this case, it's just a notepad. And the anti-proof string, of course. NTLM v2 response already contains the anti-proof string. So you can just simply copy that and paste it and then check the end of that anti-proof string to add a colon within that. So now when you were able to gather all of these strings correctly, you can now be able to crack the password using the hashcat. So hashcat, it is a password cracking tool that we will be using for this demo. It uses a word list which contains millions of common passwords. So let's just wait. So yeah, you can see here that we were able to successfully crack the password, which is a very common password indeed. And yeah, so let's now try to remotely access that using SSH. So with all of the informations that we have gathered, we can now just simply gain unauthorized access to that machine and just do whatever that attacker might want. So for this case, it can do further malicious actions after gaining that unauthorized access. So we can now see that the current user is now the victim, and we can now explore the directories of that machine. So this is one of the things that we should, of course, most of us already know that we shouldn't save credentials in just a plain text. But of course, for those who don't have this kind of background like we do, they actually do it and they save it to just any text file that they use. So this is just an example of that we should always be aware of. So this attack can also be replicated using Kali, which already had a built-in tools like Impacket. So let's just, of course, check the IP address of this Kali, and we will be using that to modify the HTML file later. Again, manipulate here the SMB server to change the SMB server challenge to whatever you want. And we will be using, of course, the SMB server to initiate that SMB connection. So once that is inserted, we can now listen to anything that connects to that IP address. So we will just modify this HTML file and redirect it to the IP of Kali. So by replacing that, we can just use the same scenario as earlier. You can just simply double click, and then you can see here that it can be automatically capture the NTLM hash without you having to manually extract it using Wireshark. So it's very basic. You can just copy it and then paste it to the hash that text that you've saved earlier, and we can just check here, again double checking here, if we will be getting the same password, which we should have. This attack or this test is also conducted. We already tested it to externally, because of course this sample is just internally, but this is also tested using GCP, wherein we enable the port 445 to enable the SMB connection externally. So we will be using now the Impacket WM exec to remotely access the victim's machine. Same with the one that we have used earlier, which is the SSH. And we can now use any Windows command on Kali. Same as earlier, you can explore any directory that you want and perform any further malicious attacks. So, yeah, so the demo's over. I will be having Mark to end this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne, for the demo. Um, moving on, basically Microsoft announced that the NTLM authentication protocol will be killed off in Windows 11 in the future. They are promoting the use of Kerberos, as our fellow co-speaker, Sir GC, explained earlier. So it's like a ticket-based system. It has strict time requirements. It's symmetric and asymmetric. It has symmetric and asymmetric cryptography support. They also use centralized key distribution center, etc. But the developer says otherwise. So there are a lot of legacy applications that does not support Kerberos at all. So mainly, based on our research, majority of them are banks, hospitals, and airports. So let's hope for the best and prepare your popcorn for watching the world crumble when they implemented it. So thank you. If you need the copy of the presentation, you can just Google Viper TA577 or just search Viper email threat landscape. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, approach us anytime. Thank you.